In the last video, I demoed how we can grab a gun by clicking on it, but we don't have a way of letting it go, and we don't have a way of shooting it. So let's abstract that code into a class of its own, and we can manage these features. So we'll put that as, how about 2D grab. 2D grab feature. Is there a better name for this? How about inline? Inline just call it inline then. Inline. Okay, so we have a class inline. Export it. And let's move the code that we have for here. So this was being created when the client was ready. Let's take all of this code, cut, and let's put that into inline in the constructor. In fact, we can still listen to the signal hub on local, on what? Client ready. Is that what we were listening on before? Yeah, client ready. So when that happens, we'll run whoops, client ready, subscribe, and then put this code, which is to then listen for pointer info. And if we get a pointer pick, we can see if we want to grab something. And we'll always just grab with the right hand. Filter, fix this, and bring this in. So we'll need a member ID. I think we'll need scene as well, public scene, Babylon scene, and public member ID can just be a string. And we can import this from utils. Import name. This finally. Oh yes, we need to import import everything as Babylon from Babylon.js. Okay, so when we click on this, we need to check if we're holding it or not. We can do that with a Boolean. So holding something. Let's say holding is a Boolean. Holding starts off as false. Okay, so if there's a picked mesh and it's shootable, and this holding is false, then let's say emit grab give me the mesh, which is a Babylon abstract mesh. We'll paste this here. Our right hand will be this. Member ID, mesh ID. We're sending this is an absolute position and quaternion rotation. And this one, and we just emit that through Signal Hub. So if that's all true, we'll say this emit grab with this mesh. Okay, so then in Scene Manager, we will remove all of this. Sorry, that ain't it. I think I already removed it. We need to pass the scene in, so let's do it on scene create. Create scene. Here's the scene. Here's when we attach the pointer refers to the scene, and then let's say new inline, this member ID and this scene. So that's set up. Over here, if I click on this, yep, we've got it. And now I want to click on it again. Oh yeah, one more thing we have to do is we need to set up that the holding now must be true. We'll set this holding is true. Otherwise, okay, so let's break this down like such. So if this holding is false, then we'll emit that. Okay. Otherwise, holding must be true. You're already holding it. Then we need to say let go. And then say this holding is false. Now how do we let go? We need to emit release. And what is the message for a release? So we have entity grabbed, entity released, and much the same data. It's just entity released. Okay, so emit entity grabbed. Let's copy all of this and say emit entity emit released, and all the payload is all the same except entity released. Okay, great. Okay, so let's see if that works. If I click this, we have the gun. I click it again, we've released the gun. Click it again, click, released. Okay, so that works. And while we're holding it, maybe if we press the space bar, then we can emit a message for shooting it. So we need a new kind of message that maybe is key press. How do we get that input? Let's see. Babylon, just get keyboard input. It's like there's a keyboard on keyboard observable. And it's a kind of keyboard info. Okay. So it's a keyboard info, Babylon keyboard info. And then in the scene manager, once the scene has been created, here we're registering for pointers, and we can register the scene for on keyboard observable add keyboard info, and we'll just emit that into signal hub local emit keyboard info, pass along the keyboard info. And then we can add a subscription for it inside Inline. So once the client is ready, we can grab some particular flavor of this. So signal hub local on keyboard info, and we'll pipe and filter just let's see, when I tap it, I want to shoot immediately. So I want keyboard down, keys down, and I want the space. And first, tell me what I'm pressing. Let's just do a console log of this. So if I just go to the console, and if I press space, get a type down and up, and it's a type of keyboard event code input index. Is trusted, alt key false, cancel, character code 0, key code 32, Alright, what is it? What about enter? What's the key for enter? So if I do enter the key character code, key code 13. So I think key code of 32 is what I want to know. Okay, so I'm going to filter. So I'm going to filter info, where the info type must be equal to Babylon keyboard event types of key down, and the info key code is equal to 32. Keyboard info. What properties are on here? Oh, event key code. That's equal to 32. If that's 32, then I think okay, that's when we can fire. Okay. And we have to be holding it. So if don't really care what the value is now. If this holding is true, then we can emit a trigger message, and that looks like entity triggers squeezed. And here's an example payload. Right, and we'll put that into inline. So let's go to new function, this emit trigger squeeze. And we'll just make a message like so. And can we trigger squeeze? Let's see, the ID of the mesh. Perhaps we should save that. It's called held mesh. Okay, in the beginning you have nothing, and okay, if the thing you're holding is nothing, then you can emit grabbed and then say the held mesh is equal to mesh now. Otherwise, it's not null. You've got to say that the held mesh is now null. And on the flip side, you're going to say if held mesh, then you can do this emit trigger squeezed, and this will be this held mesh ID, and then we have some position here, which is a pointer. Okay. We do have a position. It is the right hand. Let's try this. It's the position of the right hand, and where'd you get the right hand? Right hand comes from here. We should just save where that right hand is, shouldn't we? But we're created after in the scene. Huh. Not sure yet. We may not have it yet. Okay, in the direction, which we'll just say wherever you're facing. So we need a function for this. Find avatar head. Let's go to avatar to create it. Alright, so if we have the head, then Babylon vector 3 transform coordinates from Babylon vector 3 forward and a matrix. Head dot get world matrix. I kind of feel like we can get that from the camera as well. So, kind of feel iffy about doing this every time you're squeezing the trigger. So we can say this direction as array. And then what's to do with this? Import event from types. Alright, how does this play out? Let's see. Grab it and shoot. Okay. Can't read properties of null, get world matrix. Oh, I don't have a head. Right. Right. Just get this. Okay, it's not shooting it in the direction I thought it would. Eh? It's going off in some position. Up and to the left. Oh. So the only direction it's shooting in. That's unusual. Okay, clearly some work to be done here. Alright, well, let's take a break.